Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets show presented by Prize Picks here on the Mayo Media Network. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to talk a little bit about Tuesday, February 9th, NHL slate. DJ, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. I mean, it's the Tuesday slate. It's not the biggest one we've covered by any stretch. We get 8 games with a lot of variation in time. So there's been a lot of complaints from, I'll say I'm one of them, but the NHL just has not really done a great job of spreading out the games. But here we get, 1 at 6, 2 at 7, 2 at 8:30, and 3 at 10. So you can really watch hockey on the East Coast from 6 till 1 in the morning. So it's kind of nice. Hopefully we don't have those clear burst intermission gaps that just give you 20 minutes of downtime. I want to watch hockey from the moment it starts to the moment it finishes. So Matt, what do you think about this slate and how are you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm doing well. The weekend, the Super Bowl was obviously, fun time. Ate a lot of food. So hoping to earn back some of the money I lost on the Chiefs here, for sure on this Tuesday. But that was brutal. But
yeah, I didn't end up betting any of it. I just was like, you know what? I don't know enough here to put a lot of money down. And I like the Chiefs side, and I'm glad I didn't bet it. So yeah, definitely feel the same.
Yeah. So like you were saying though, I love these early starts. I have a buddy out on the West Coast who texts me all the time. Like, he calls it the morning slate on a weekend. I'm just like, you are so lucky. I cannot believe you get to wake up at like 10 a.m. and just watch hockey. Then we get a little bit of that, 6 o'clock. So talking about this Flyers and Capitals game, it is priced exactly as a pick'em here. So kind of what are your thoughts on this? We saw this game shoot out on Sunday. So anything interesting here?
Yeah, I mean, it is a pick 'em. It was a well over 11 goals, was it? 11 goals it ended up being on Sunday. Again, it's not, something where I'm going to be jamming on either side. We might get Kuznetsov back. It sounds like we will. I believe he did practice, skated on the second power play. I guess it's a bit of a boost for the Capitals, but I don't think I'm heavy lean on either side. The home team has done really well so far this year. I don't know if that's a trend that's sustainable or anything that I'm going to go crazy sinking my teeth into, but I think if I had to, I'd take the Washington side. You're getting a team at home that's pretty solid. I have no reason to really say it other than I think that they're just a slight advantage, and getting a couple guys back that maybe the lines aren't adjusting for seems like a fair enough way to go about it as for me. But Matt, is there any initial lean on this game?
Yeah, for me, it's I also am leaning toward the Washington end of things here. They controlled play on Sunday, and they gave up a ton of goals. Vanacek was just awful. I don't really make decisions when I'm betting. I don't base them around like, oh, this goalie's, hot or cold or whatever. Vanacek seems like he's been just fine. And that's assuming, Samsonov isn't back, and it sounds like he won't be. But like you said, we're getting Kuznetsov back. We're getting Justin Schultz back. Those two guys are pretty solid contributors who weren't there over the weekend. So I think that there is some value on this Washington side. We haven't seen Philadelphia control play now for the entire season. So until I see it, I just sort of have to assume that even with Couturier back, they definitely were trying to hide him a bit. They played him on the fourth line. They didn't even want to match him up against Backstrom. And, nonetheless, he still sort of just dominated, and he scored 2 goals and was on the ice for 4 of them. Couturier is back and he's still very good, but I don't really understand the coaching decisions that went into basically keeping him entirely away from Ovi and friends. And some of that's because Washington's at home, but they're at home again here. So I'm not really too concerned about Couturier. So give me Washington, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, as far as the player props get to, it is, I think, the first time all year I've seen every single shot on goal prop over on the DK Sportsbook be a positive bet for the over. Every one of them is. That might just be because of the players they picked. But is there one here that you like a little more than the others? Everything is a 2.5, except for Ovechkin, who is 4.5. Obviously, he's one of the best rate shooters we've ever seen ever. So that make a little bit of sense. But is there anything that you're kind of leaning on as far as one of those, or maybe a player prop that you like a bit more than the rest?
Yeah, I mean, this Konechny line is pretty enticing, especially if Philly's trailing. I feel like they'll give this Giroux line some more run than they've gotten. Giroux, Hayes, and Konechny. Konechny even saw a little bit of power play time with Giroux. Remains to be seen whether that was just a sort of, just a tweak or some sort of rest situation. But I do think that they're going to figure out how to get Travis Konechny to put the puck on goal. He was so reliable last year. I just refuse to believe that he's going to stay sort of cold all year. When you get plus 170 on a guy with the track record that Konechny has, I think that's a really good value. So I like that one.
I think one prop that I'm considering right now, and I'm not sure where I'm going to land on it, but TJ Oshie didn't see either power play run in practice on Monday. That seems odd, but I don't think it's the worst idea to say he won't get a point. Not that,
do we have confirmation whether he's in or not? Because he missed for an injury.
Yeah, I guess that's the question. Yeah, he didn't play. So yeah, I don't know if he's going to play or not, I guess is the thing, but I wouldn't make that a massive parlay. I don't know if he didn't practice either power play. It's so weird that I guess maybe it's likely he won't play.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Does end up getting in though, like last minute, then maybe he won't see the minutes. I don't know. That's just like what seemed odd to me that I didn't see him at all. You're right. I don't think he practiced. That's probably why.
The major beneficiary was Tom Wilson, playing first line with Wilson, Backstrom and Ovi, and on the first power play. So if you can find Tom Wilson overs, I would bet those. Now to score a goal, he's at plus 220, which is just
not enough.
Those are just bad odds. So I'm not doing that. But maybe for a point or something, if you can find him, because he can play. He's got a reputation as a bit of a goon, but he's sort of he's evolved a bit in that he can, he's got good hands. He has a good shot. He knows where to be offensively. It's just that sometimes he crosses the line, let's say. So Tom Wilson, if you can find him, certainly good. So now we're getting into 7:00 where we sort of start like the main slate when we're talking DFS. And we'll start it off here with the Detroit and Florida. Just had to make sure which one was first. Yeah. Detroit at Florida. Florida a minus 220 favorite, but they're coming off of a loss to the same Detroit Red Wings team. Thomas Greiss slammed the door on Sunday. So, DJ, are you bouncing back, or are you betting on a bounce back here from Florida?
I think in some variety of a parlay, I would definitely consider having Florida. It's minus 220, which is not great. It's not the worst odds of any team on the slate. But I kind of like this game to be around the 5.5 mark is kind of perfect. I was kind of hoping maybe we'd see a 6 here, and I'd think about the under, but I think it's a little bit too like who's in net, and they could be terrible for me to want to go on this goal prop line. A little bit more interested in some of these player props. I think if we base it off of last game, and last game we saw Dylan Larkin basically decide that he's just not coming off the ice. 22 minutes without any power play run, which means that he just was out there for every 5-on-5 shift almost all game, it seems like. Glendening got hurt, so someone should bounce in, and maybe that'll diminish his upside a bit. But his shot prop, 3.5, it's not my favorite thing in the world. I was kind of hoping it'd stay at 2.5 or something. I'll have to check different websites to see what we get on that. But if he's seeing those kind of minutes, I don't really see a reason why he couldn't at least get 3 shots on net. And, that could be one avenue, but 3.5 right now on DraftKings is a little bit tough.
Yeah. I mean, if you're coming here after watching us last Thursday, I just, you're welcome for calling the Jonathan Huberdeau under 6 points. That was a lock to hit. I did bet Jonathan Huberdeau to not score a point at pretty good odds, I thought. And let's just say that didn't happen. So, I'm eating a little bit of crow. Honestly, I was thinking about it because it's plus 135 for him to not score a point. And that might be a little rich for me, just sort of watching that. Just, betting on guys not to do stuff is always a bit more painful than sort of rooting for something to happen. But I was sort of thinking about what you said about the total being listed at a 5.5 right now. I do kind of like buying a little bit of that, equity. You can get the under 6 right now at minus 137. Because I sort of agree. I think this game's a bit of a sludge. So I don't mind betting the under 5.5, but just for that little bit of extra, in case it's a 4-2 type win
Right.
for either side, I could see sort of going at those odds. But yeah, this to me sort of screams, low scoring, sort of exactly, honestly, like what we saw on Sunday, but probably with Florida, turning around and getting a dub here. So
Right.
we're seeing on DraftKings and stuff that these guys like Duclair and Verhaeghe are being priced, Barkov's line mates are being priced very similarly to their sort of two score props, which is, you sometimes love to see it. You sometimes hate to see it. This is one of those spots where I kind of hate to see it because they're coming off of that, loss to Detroit. There's a lot of good spots on this slate that we'll get to. So Duclair and Verhaeghe, I think, are just a little too expensive to be interesting, but that would also make them very low owned in terms of just a top line stack against Detroit. So right. I kind of like considering that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a prop, that a bit of a long shot for sure. But I mentioned it on other podcasts that Nemestikov isn't the worst play in the world. At plus 510, I think you could do a lot worse. He has scored in back-to-back games, so it's a little bit chasing what he's already done. I think before those 2-goal games, I was kind of tracking him as like he's getting big minutes, and he has in the past profiled to be an okay rate shooter. But 16 minutes, they didn't get any power play time in that Florida game, so they won without it. But the game before that, he was out there on the second unit. That game also saw Anthony Mantha. So if someone's going to have to fill that role, I'm going to be kind of looking if I can find any news on who it is. But I think Nemestikov at 5-10 to score isn't the worst thing you could do with your money. I wouldn't make it a major parlay, but I think of all the odds out there, that's not terrible.
Yeah, one thing to just monitor, we saw Ekblad get pulled off that first power play unit on Sunday. I honestly couldn't tell you why that's the case, but Duclair did replace him. I don't know if that was, again, just sort of like a rest type situation where he was out when the penalty was called. But so worth noting, because otherwise, if we do get some confirmation on that, Ekblad's odds to score are, I guess, longer than Keith Yandel's. And, what they're trying to do is Yandel to Ekblad for the one-timer, basically. So if we get any confirmation on that, keep that in mind. But, Ekblad, as of now, not on the top power play. So the more interesting game, though, at 7 o'clock is this Edmonton and Ottawa game, currently listed as a 6.5 with Edmonton as pretty major road favorites at minus 182. We saw Edmonton take care of business on Monday night. In the rematch on Tuesday, DJ, how do you feel about this one?
I'm going back to the Edmonton wall for sure. I'm going to end up with some McDavid, some Nugent Hopkins, and DraftKings. I don't know. Again, it is hard to get these player props. Like, I don't like ever really taking a guy to score with a negative just because it's like almost it's backwards logic to me. It's like saying like this guy is going to score more than every time. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, Matt, what I'm saying there?
That's like literally not how it works, but go off.
You know what I mean? Right? Yeah, like I hate doing it. It makes me just not feel good inside to take a minus 103 and just it doesn't. I don't know what, but the math doesn't add up, so I won't do it. But I think that taking some of these guys with their point props is fair enough. Getting like a plus 2 points for a McDavid. Oh my God, that's a minus 125. Jesus, they really, really priced this up. The one bet that I've taken about 1 million times, it feels like, is Brady to have points and stuff. And he hasn't really got there too many times, but I like that. Okay. Other than that, I mean, this is more of like I like this guy a lot in a parlay just to kind of put it together for me than like, I'm going to be focusing a ton of money on any individual line here. As far as the game in general, like Edmonton minus 182 is pretty good. It was much worse than that in the past, and I don't think these teams have really changed all that much. My favorite player to kind of mention, I guess, more than anything is Evan Bouchard. I don't want to take too much time here, so Matt, I'll pass it to you on him. I know you had some notes on him. I don't think he even has a goal prop on DraftKings, so tough.
Yeah, he actually does not, which is pretty sad, but
great.
He comes in as a pretty good prospect for Edmonton. He basically in his first 4 or 5 games now to this point has shot the lights out. Basically every game, he just wants to rip the puck. Very interesting that some of the prospects evaluators that I like to follow rate his shot at a 60 grade. It's very rare that you see a defenseman just sort of noted for having an elite shot. But you watch him and his teammates know it. They're trying to feed him. I think someone saw their life flash before their eyes. I'm trying to remember who it was, but he shot one right into someone's ribs and just looked painful. Like, he's just a big guy. He's got a big shot. Great skater, great offensive profile in terms of prospect profile. So he's a guy playing in their top 4 right now, getting some second power play run, and he will be very inexpensive on both sites for daily fantasy. So barring any, day-to-day sort of changes in their lineup, I think that he's a great play at least on daily fantasy sites. And, he's going to score his first goal sooner than later, but obviously, I'm not sure betting him at like 10-1 odds in any given game or whatever he might be listed at is positive value.
Right. Do you have any thoughts on like a team total here? Like, if you do, I think we both like Edmonton a good bit. Their team totals aren't fantastic, but over 4.5 plus 170. Do you have any interest in something like that?
Yeah, I've thought about that, and I kind of just think no. I love McDavid here, but these numbers are just kind of ridiculous, honestly. Just insane amounts of respect being given to Edmonton. And I don't know if they really deserve it. Like, obviously McDavid deserves it, but they basically have 2 decent defensemen and not much else. They have no depth. Like, this is it's Edmonton. We know how they do. They barely eked one out. I think it was 3-1 on Monday night. So I don't really think we see a ton of fireworks here. I'd probably honestly lean the under 6.5 and just sort of, banking on goals from elsewhere. The one thing that I keep coming back to is McDavid to not score a point at plus 300. And I'm just trying to think, like, 25% of the time does McDavid get held off the score sheet, and it just seems impossible. But tonight, without the empty net goal, he doesn't get there. So, just one of those things to keep in mind, like, it's great value if you can stomach the sort of, watching McDavid obviously murder your souls.
Right. I mean, I don't think I could do it personally. I just don't have the stomach for it. But I think that I am good to move on to Tampa Nashville unless there's anything else. So Tampa Nashville, I feel like I might be, I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but I like this game to be over the 5.5. I think it actually has some pretty good offensive upside overall. I talked about it in another podcast, kind of going with like a 4 or 5 man game stack here and being super contrarian with some of these other games. I think drawing a lot of ownership with Vegas and Edmonton. I think a lot of ownership is going to end up pivoting there and just not, pivoting away from Tampa and Nashville. I'm definitely considering the over. I guess I like the Tampa side with all the injuries and stuff going on in Nashville. I mean, on top of injuries, they had Ekholm sit out because of having a child, which congratulations if you're listening with Matthias Ekholm. But I probably stay away from the money lines more than anything. I could see myself including a Tampa. Nashville at home plus 140 is somewhat enticing, but I think overall I like the over a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of the mind belt here, but I sort of agree. Both these teams are generating a good amount of offense. Now, Tampa does what Tampa does, and they've stifled, they've stifled defensively, despite some pretty, up-tempo paces. So if we see sort of Nashville sort of revert to the mean and capitalize on some of their chances they haven't been able to convert on, and, Vasilevsky got his first day of rest. So, maybe he's, good to go first game for McElhaney on Monday night, but maybe we see Vasi, let a couple weak ones. We see some of those percentages start to normalize. But yeah, I like the over. Both these teams have been playing with a lot of pace so far this year. So despite it being, 2 starting goalies matched up in Saros and Vasilevsky, presumably at least, then I still think the over is certainly in play here. So just a couple of players to keep in mind. With no Ekholm, we saw Dante Fabro step up. He actually scored a goal on the power play for Nashville. He's similar to Bouchard, just sort of like that good prospect type build. Good skater, good shot. Should be used pretty reliably in this one. So, he's a good sort of daily fantasy punt to fit in a lot of these star players. And then, Philip Forsberg is just a beast. So if you like this game going over, I think that you can bet on him. His shot prop's a little bit juiced up, but even then, I think he's still decent value.
Right. Now it's frustrating that it's minus 195 because I've definitely jammed it in a bunch and it just keeps climbing. So
honestly, let's just do Stamkos. Let's be real.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, Stamkos is I think equal to get there, and yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, minus 162, over 2.5. Stamkos hit the 5 shots bonus, or hit the 5 shots mark on Monday night, and he's the guy on their power play. Braden Point's a great player, but they're looking to feed Stamkos more than Point. So both of those guys I think are decent values, but I like Stamkos just a bit more.
Yeah, I also like that just 1 point for Duchesne. I mean, that seems to get a point plus 100.
Centering Forsberg and Arvidsson.
Forsberg, Arvidsson. If you like this game to go over, and he was first power play, so it just doesn't seem like they quite figured that out yet into their odds. Not that it's a mortal lock. I mean, Duchesne getting a point is not always the case. So
I don't think he was top power play actually. But,
he wasn't.
No, I think he was with Arvidsson and Fabro because he assisted Fabro's goal. So
really,
they're
gonna do it. They're really splitting them up. All right, yeah, I had to see what they end up doing. Okay, all right. I mean, I still think it's a fair play. Like if you like this game to go over, he's probably involved, and if they're struggling late, the key is the guy that's going to be on the ice. They're going to put the main guys out there. So I think of all the odds on this, that's pretty solid for a positive bet. Other than that, the Stamkos one's super strong, and I like the over. But we can move on to
Chicago Dallas. Let's get over to Chicago Dallas because Dallas at home is minus 148 against Chicago. I'm just jamming that. That Dallas is a better team than Chicago. Chicago's been playing fine, but Dallas, they have Klingberg, they have Heiskanen, they have these, they have a good top 6. I don't really see a world in which, unless for some reason they're pricing in that the unconfirmed Khudobin start isn't happening, even then, Andrew's fine. This to me just sort of screams, obvious value, maybe an overreaction to Chicago's win over the weekend. I don't know, but that one sort of seems fishy. So I like the value there on Dallas a whole heck of a lot.
I'm in total agreement. I definitely think that's the take from this game. If you do what I do, which I guess while I'm talking, I like to do a couple smaller parlays and then one of every single game. And this is kind of the one I think I'm just going to click on that Dallas line, just jam that in with these odds. And it seems pretty likely that they'll win this one. So it's that seems nice, especially if you're building a couple big parlays to get that in there.
So that's sort of where going to inform a lot of the rest of my thoughts on this game. I really like a lot of these Dallas player props. Unfortunately, we don't get the obvious Denis Gurianov jam play that you love, that and love from the boys here. But really, we're talking a Klingberg over 2.5 shots. This guy patrols the blue line with the best of them. I think that he gets there in this one. That's some pretty good value for a guy on the top power play. Certainly going to be looking to fire pucks on net. When you lose, you know exactly what Rick Bowness is telling him. He's telling him, get the puck on net. And Klingberg has the puck on his stick a whole heck of a lot, and he's one of the best in the league at finding lanes, getting pucks on goal, and making stuff happen. So while I don't think he's a goal scorer, I think that he will make rebounds happen for guys like Pavelski and Jamie Benn to just sort of finish off.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's a really good take. It is I'm looking through these odds as you're saying it. I'm man, I really wish a couple of these better players were the 2+ point guys. It's like, I don't really want to bet Ben or Radulov. So they kind of cut us at the knees here with who they put on there, which is
we don't
frustrating.
even know if Radulov will be back for this one.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's
keep
like,
an eye on his status.
Man, it's just like, I don't know if we've said this on this podcast, but while we're on my soapbox, it's like FanDuel has gotten all the odds. They put everything out there. You can bet so much more over there, but the interface is terrible. I mean, it's just not fun or enjoyable to be a part of. And I hope they're listening and like fix it, because I want to bet their odds, but they have more options. Like, I just like, it can build different parlays that I like. And it's so frustrating. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, the amount of time that I spend just trying to click through everything is annoying. So
yeah,
it is, again, like, we're getting 2 different odds in 2 different games with like Oshie and Radulov, which these guys might not play. And it's like,
yeah, by the way, confirmed, not in. Mike Heika tonight confirmed that. So,
like, I'm not, it doesn't seem like it's that much to ask for, that we could just get some odds on guys that are just playing. Like, and we can't, like, 2 points for Ben. I'm not playing that. That takes Dallas right out of the equation. So I don't know. I don't know why they're all in on Jamie Benn, but whatever. So
yeah, so just some fallout of Radulov being out of the lineup. We didn't really get a firm word because of how erratic Dallas's deployment was on Sunday. But we saw Tanner Kiro get some time with the top line, Pavelski and Ben. We saw Ty Dellandrea get top line duty for a bit, and we also saw Jason Robertson get some time there. So all 3 of those dudes will be very cheap. If Morning Skate gives us any clarity on, which guys in the top 6, I think any of those guys will be solid plays. And then obviously we have on the power play 1 replacing Radulov is we just don't have to guess between Jamie Benn, Gurianov, Hintz, Pavelski. Those 4 guys will all be on the top power play, and we don't have to guess, which one Radulov would replace. So part of the reason I really like Mr. Gurianov on this slate, because this dude is still firing. He just has a cannon. So I'm all in on Gurianov here.
All right. Well, that would take us over to Anaheim, Vegas. I am wearing my Vegas jersey, as I think they're one of the easiest plays of the night, but at -240, I understand if you try to go elsewhere, because it is very, very, very juiced towards Vegas. 5.5 over under. I think that's kind of the Gibson on the other end, just holding them at bay. But if you are playing DraftKings or FanDuel, Vegas is super priced up. There are a couple interesting news and notes that we'll get to, but is there any initial lean you have in the Anaheim Vegas game?
I like the over.
Okay. Easy enough.
I feel like we're going to get to sort of the reasons we're betting on a guy like Rickard Rakell to break out real soon. We saw the Kings put goals up on Vegas this weekend. They were not fruitful in their efforts to win, but I certainly don't think that Vegas is like this impenetrable defense. And honestly, Vegas could win 6-0 and I would not be surprised. So yeah, I like the over here and think there's a lot of ways to get to that, get to that happening.
Gave us a better chance in this game than the Edmonton game. The over 3.5 goals for Vegas is only -108. I think that's a pretty fair take. Over 4 plus 163. So if you do think Vegas is going to absolutely, just steamboat them, or that's not even an expression, whatever the expression is.
Yeah,
boat race them. There it is. I knew I said it wrong. I'm like, I'm just going to let Matt correct me. I think that's a very fair odd that you could get in on. If you look at the player props to score, it's almost hilarious. I think the top 8 or 9 guys are full Vegas Golden Knights. Then we get to Rickard Rakell, who I've just tilted all season long because he's allergic to getting points. He's allergic to scoring. I mean, we know he's allergic to scoring. It's a terrible allergy, but actually getting a point is just hilarious. I guess he just does not know how to do that. But are there any odds here that you like?
Patches, 2 points, plus 300. Sign me right on up for that. Main puck toucher on the power play. Say that 4 times fast.
Put it on his resume.
Yeah. That just seems like really good odds here. This guy is, he's playing with Mark Stone, who looks to feed him, and Patches puts pucks on goal and makes stuff happen. I think that should be more like Mark Stone's odds that are plus 235 for 2+ points. I just think that even though Stone's the playmaker, you're talking points, you're not talking assists even. And guys who shoot tend to get assists off of rebounds and stuff too. So I just really like that line from Patches. And I also like his shot over 3.5 is -155. Not the best in the world, but I think, as you might be able to tell, Patches is my top overall player on the slate. If I can on DraftKings and FanDuel, I'm probably just playing both McDavid and Patches and finding value elsewhere to make it work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm in on that. Do you have any interest in this Patches hat trick? I mean, are you just going to go all in on it? He's already done it once. Has he done it twice?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm in PA. I can't bet
Oh,
that.
you can't even
so,
do it. All right.
yeah,
What about the crazy long odds of +113 for Nicholas Hague to score? I mean, 20 minutes of ice time, he has a cannon of a shot. Are you have any interest in getting crazy?
1,300.
1,300.
It's like +113. Those are the worst odds I've ever seen in my life.
1,300. Yeah, you're right. 1,300, 1,300, whatever.
Yeah,
are you getting crazy? I mean, it's him or Aaron Ness.
No, I know. Nick Hague will play on the top four. We're not expecting Pietrangelo back at this point. And, with the way that their blue line's currently set up, they are playing Nick Hague, 18, 19 minutes a night. We saw him put up a goal and 2 assists against the Kings. But, I'm not chasing that. I certainly like him on the daily fantasy sites. I think he's a good bet to pick up, a handful of blocks or shots on goal to sort of make the rest of your lineup work. But yeah, I don't think I'm getting too out there with like my goal props.
Fair enough. Okay. Is there anything else in this game you wanted to mention before we get over to with San Jose, right? San Jose, LA?
Yeah, probably the best value goal thing I can find is Maxime Comtois at +440 to score. He's playing on a line with Rickard Rakell. There's a lot of underlying numbers pointing to Rickard Rakell being one of the unluckiest players in the NHL to this point in the season. Now, part of his bad luck is playing on Anaheim, and that's not changing. But another part of it is pucks are just going to start going in while he's on the ice. He's just a really, really sound player. I actually heard Meany and I think it was Cam on Friday kind of besmirching the name of Rickard Rakell. Just, maybe we'll have to have a one-on-one debate there over him, but I think that he's an absolute player, and DraftKings clearly agrees because he's the only guy priced around these sort of Golden Knights to score a goal, like you were mentioning before. So let's get over to the San Jose Kings game.
All right, yeah. So I mean, it's a 6, which I'm not shocked at. I do slightly like the over. I'm not sure if I'm going to be too heavy on it. I'm definitely much more interested in just taking San Jose at -114. I'm still of the mindset that the Kings are bad. I don't think it's going to change. They're at home. I don't think that really matters that much. San Jose doesn't play home at all, so they're pretty used to playing in other people's arenas. And DraftKings, and I believe over on FanDuel as well, the San Jose side is incredibly cheap. Their most expensive player outside of Burns is 5,300 for Couture. I'm definitely going to be getting them in there to make my lineups work. But just overall, I think that the San Jose side is got a lot of meat in the bone. Their team total, I think is something I'm going to consider. It's not great, but I think they're going to score a lot more goals than maybe meets the eye. So Matt, what do you think on this game?
And I'm feeling a Sharks win here. I'm sort of like, I'm looking at some of these like correct score. It's just because I'm feeling a little frisky about this game. I do agree. I think the Sharks are a great value here, even on the road. I just don't see the Kings really. I don't see Kopitar sort of dragging these guys to being like a team that should be favored against the Sharks, honestly. So, as a pick'em, essentially, this is basically my, one of my strongest takes of the night. I think is the Sharks are getting a little unlucky given what they're producing. And I feel like the tide's turned for a lot of their individual players that are very underpriced on daily fantasy sites and just, betting as well. So give me, the exact score, 4-2 for the Sharks. Let me just find it here. 22-1, feeling 4-2 victory for the Sharks here. Maybe they pot an empty netter up 3-2 or something to get me that solid dub there. But Any player props you like, DJ?
I mean, first off, what an absolutely bold take. Anytime I say that
Right?
you're not bold enough, I have to rescind any comments I've made in the past. I mean, yeah, I think I like Logan Couture in general. So I guess I'm not, this year's been a little tough. He's been kind of hit or miss on this, but 2.5 shots, he's at plus 100. I think it's pretty gettable for him. I don't know if that's something that he gets every single night, but I think that this is a pretty good spot for him to get that. I think another avenue, and oh my God, of course, it's just not there. I was hoping to look what we get for Carlson for points, but never mind. That's not an option on DraftKings. Man, they really just gave us some real tough ones. Boy, maybe the no on Kopitar. I think that's plus 110 for no point from Kopitar. I don't mind taking that. I think that he's he actually, honestly, he has been pretty good, but I don't know if I like him that much there.
Yeah, he's been great, but look what's around him.
Yeah,
It's
right.
tough.
It's like every night that could definitely, I mean, they could just not score because they're not good. The one goal odds that I think I like above the rest is LeBanc at plus 320. It's not absolutely sexy, but like look at the guys he's around, like John Leonard and stuff. Like, yeah, he's better than that. He's on the first power play, and he's just a good player. So
I cannot believe the Kings are not playing Arthur Kaliev. I was so excited that he made it into the lineup last week, and he scores a freaking goal in his first game. Like, this is the Kings we're talking about. One of the worst goal-scoring teams of the last, I mean, ever since their cup runs, basically. There's goals, I mean, even in their cup runs, they weren't a great goal-scoring team. But you're talking about a guy, a natural-born goal scorer, comes into your lineup, is out there in an empty net situation, and for developmental reasons, he's playing in the AHL. Like, come on, like, really, Dustin Brown on the top line, like, get out of here. But it's just very, very funny seeing him at plus 330 to score a goal when, like, we see guys all the time priced at plus 500, 600. So Kaliev definitely deserves the respect he's gotten, but does not deserve to be in the AHL right now. So just wanted to complain about that for a second before we get to the last game of the night.
A lot of tough scenes there. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it up. They really didn't give us the player props that I would have wanted here. Just disappointing, but it is what it is. So we can move on over to Winnipeg at Calgary. Matt, I'll just send it right to you. What is your initial lean on this one?
Yeah, my lean is toward the Flames. I think they're a pretty solid team. Pierre-Luc Dubois is making his debut for Winnipeg. At least all signs are pointing to that at this moment. So that could be pretty fun. He is centering Kyle Connor. So they're really sort of breaking up their big guns. Wheeler's been demoted to the third line, which, by the way, if you kind of heard what we talked about on Thursday with Paul Maurice going off and us sort of talking about that a little bit, like, it's pretty clear Paul Maurice knows that Blake Wheeler's goose is cooked at this point, and he's out there to sort of distribute the puck on the power play and basically play a keep handle role. But I'll digress because Blake Wheeler probably will pull a Jonathan Huberdeau and put up 6 points here just to spite me.
We can't talk too much shade because exactly.
But yeah, and then Scheifele on that top line with Ehlers and Kopp, I believe, is just probably going to see like a lot of the minutes there. But with all that said, I just really like the Calgary side of this game. One thing to keep in mind is that Sam Bennett got a promotion to the top line last game, did score, and it sounds like he'll stay there. So that immediately leads me to his goal prop of plus 360, priced around guys such as Paul Stastny, Dominic Simone. I think Sam Bennett's the best bet to play with Gaudreau and Monahan to score a goal there. But what are your thoughts? I know you like the Winnipeg side a little more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not something that if I'm doing a big parlay, I'm just not going to end up going with either of these two teams. I think it's basically a coin flip, which is why I like the Winnipeg bet line a little bit more, but I'm not sold on it. I just think that, Hellebuck is better than he's played. He'll right the ship a little bit, but overall in this game, I think, one bet that I might end up jamming in anyways is multiple points from Gaudreau. Even if like I said, I probably just stay away from the money line in general. His, 3 points might be a little bit rich for my blood, but 2 points at plus 250. I think that's pretty solid. He's been great, and I think that he'll even continue to be better. The shot props, there's not one here that I'm overly ambitious on. I think Kyle Connor over 3.5 is okay, but he's been pretty cool as of late. We'll see if the new line works out. Maybe, this is the right fit for him. He gets in with Pierre-Luc Dubois, who hasn't been a crazy rate shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but a pretty good distributor. Yeah, that could end up kind of getting him to the right spot and something to consider, but I kind of want to see it before I put a bunch of money on it. So I think multiple points for Gaudreau is my favorite in this one, plus 250.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Gaudreau guy here as well. So especially over on DraftKings, I mean, this guy's priced at 5,800, 5,900.
Yeah.
And I think you had his FanDuel price up too.
DJ. Yeah, 76. He's just around. I mean, Pacioretty is 81 and he's 76, and then over on DraftKings, I think Pacioretty's still
also 81,
and he's 50. Where is he? 58. So he's way cheaper over on DraftKings. So that is a great price, and I think this game, while like I said, I kind of like Winnipeg. Okay, I think they're actually not that bad. And I think that they will figure out the bit of struggles. I feel like for some reason the Winnipeg struggles have been like really like put out in the media and everything, and they've actually been good. Like at least like they're winning games. Like they haven't been that great. Like they're winning. Yeah. Like I think that there's been some unluckiness. There's been some playing Ottawa and Vancouver that every team in Canada gets
That'll
to
help.
do. That definitely helps. But yeah, I think they're just overall they're not that terrible, and I think if Hellebuck figures out a little bit. I mean, last year he won the Vezina, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I still think he's good, so I don't. That's why I kind of if he's in, I just kind of shy away from taking the other team just because he could have a 40 save shutout because he's that kind of goalie, and goalies are nuts.
Yes, absolutely.
You want to get to some of our favorite stacks, or is there anything else from this game you wanted to touch on?
So before we do top stacks, let's do a couple of our favorite bets on the night. Do you have a couple ready?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest one that I think we're both really in on is just Dallas minus 148. I think I speak for both of us on that being maybe our favorite, just easy money, take it bet.
Yep.
But yeah, you have one that you want to go over?
So we didn't actually see a real number on Tom Wilson, but I'm really interested in his, especially if you check out some of the other sites that you use. I like Tom Wilson to get a point. I project that to be almost a 50-50 prop, if not slightly up, maybe 130 or something. But I really like him here, just given his role increase with no Oshie. And then sort of my other real bet that I want to make is on this Sharks team as a pick'em versus the Kings. I like the Sharks. I think that they are a class above the Kings, which isn't saying much, but still I think very will be made noticeable on this Tuesday slate.
Yeah, I think the Stamkos over 2.5 minus 162. It's real easy. Like that might be like the easy money pick. If you're again, I don't know. You're gonna bet the house on it, probably not. Like shots on goal are a little bit weird where he could take 8 shots and 5 get blocked and stuff like that. So that's why I wouldn't bet the house on it. But if you're making a parlay, just jam it in there with it. That one and maybe any of these guys that have a point as far as like Forsberg or Yossi, those two, I think those are all kind of in the realm of what I'm looking for in that game. And like I said, I like that game a bit more pace wise. Just at the base value level of that game, the pace should be good, whether the goals find the net or not. And that's why Stamkos shot just makes a ton of sense.
Okay. And I'm taking my chips and I'm pushing them in on Max Pacioretty here. 2 points plus 300. I think that's pretty good value there against these Ducks. I really like Patches. And with that in mind, let's talk, for a couple minutes about this DFS slate here. You're going to see a ton of ownership on McDavid, probably Draisaitl too. So if you're sort of looking to stack the Oilers, is there anything creative you're looking to do? And then do you have any other sort of top stacks that you're keeping in mind for tournaments?
I mean, yeah, I said it on the Morning Skate podcast. The Oilers stack that I was going to have was McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and Evan Bouchard, just to get that savings. I think Evan Bouchard could get there without a point from either of them if he has, 4 shots on goal and a point at all, he's going to absolutely smash. So while I'd love it to be while he's on the ice with McDavid and Draisaitl or Nugent Hopkins, it doesn't have to be. The one stack that I don't think either of us said on the Morning Skate podcast that I'm pretty high on as well is going to be on the Shark side. You can talk me into a lot of different ways of doing it, but I think just doing Couture, LeBanc, and either Carlson or Burns. Carlson, a bit of a clear savings over Burns. I think Burns more often than not is going to be the better player of the two, but Carlson does seemingly have double bonus potential in him as well. It hasn't hit yet. I don't think I think maybe he only hit the shot bonus or the block shot once, but I think that well could break at any time. And this matchup, if they do end up going for a good number, he could be involved. So either of those two, I mean, Burns is a safer play, but if you need that money to get up to McDavid, I think you do it. You just take Carlson instead. They're both getting huge minutes. They both, have had great numbers in the past. So that stack's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. The Kings, they love to shoot from anywhere. I think the blocks on both those guys are, there, and obviously the offensive upside too. So, I was just sort of going to also just sort of reiterate the Edmonton side of things. I really like Jesse Puljujarvi. He really burned me on Monday, burned a lot of people though. We did see some very positive signs. He stayed with McDavid all game at 5-on-5, which obviously you love to see that. And he also played, I believe, more than 50% of the game on that top power play unit. And, him and James Neal will kind of swap off that top unit. But I did notice Puljujarvi at the end of the game getting first dibs at it. So that's something that I'm certainly going to go right back to and just hope that people sort of jump off of it at the same time. He's also very cheap on FanDuel. Inexpensive on DraftKings as well, honestly, sub 5K for a McDavid winger. But I think that that's a really good way to stack things. And then if we're looking for, a bit of the maybe lower type ownership, this Calgary game, I think, has a lot of it. And you could go either that top line with Gaudreau, Monahan, or Bennett, or you could go the second line with Elias Lindholm, because Lindholm has been really driving the bus this year. Matthew Tkachuk is also a very good player, and I think that they will be pretty low owned as well. So any other thoughts on this Tuesday slate of action, either betting or DFS wise?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say one more stack, I guess, because I kind of said like 1.5, but I think any of these top four guys on the top power play for Dallas is a good take. Probably a little bit more on the Hintz Goryanov side of it. With Klingberg, if you could, get a decent value on guys that are going to see around 20 minutes against Chicago that are just good hockey players, I don't know why you don't consider that pretty strongly. It might go a little bit overlooked with some of the bigger names on the slate. I don't hate the idea of, including another one of these players. Ben has been pretty good. His price is a little bit higher though. I prefer Goryanov. Pavelski's tough. I mean, it's tough to get 7,300 for him and feel good about your lineup, but he is seeing the minutes. The role is definitely there. So I think I'm more on the Hintz, Goryanov, Klingberg train, but I think you could conceivably build a lineup with 3 or 4 Dallas guys, and it could be the kind of the one to break the slate for you, because they're going to see a ton of run in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I pretty much reiterate that stack entirely. Big fan of it. So with all of that in mind, just wanted to, again, give a shout out to Fade the Noise, FTN Fantasy. I know Meany's been talking up, he puts his pickups, his drops, ads, that type of thing. He puts that in there. So definitely make sure you check out what he has to say as this crazy COVID season. Your season-long teams should not be neglected. There's stuff going on every single day that vaults some guys from relative obscurity right up into, premier positions, and having a guy like Meany out there just sort of patrolling, making sure that everything's going right and telling you who to pick up. I think that's a good spot. And then also FTN betting, FTN daily, just good stuff there too. Use the promo code Mayo for that sign up. And also, again, big thanks to our sponsor, Prize Picks, prizepicks.com. You can pick multiple players across multiple sports. You basically pick the over or the under on their fantasy point output that game. And you can make number of entries up to 5 individual plays on that entry, and you can win up to 10 times your money if all of them hit. And that's always a good time to 10x your money. So, DJ, anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, also on Prize Picks, we have the deposit match. Was it code MMN or was it code Mayo?
MMN.
That's MMN. I thought so. Okay, those are like the Mayo. Yeah, MMN deposit match up to 100. The other thing about that is, if you do like the hockey, that's probably why you're listening to this. But you might like gambling on other sports, and they do have basketball and some college sports, it looks like, and soccer and tennis. So check all of that out. And
you're just going to ignore CS:GO?
I don't know what that meant. Honestly, it's got to be a video game. I don't know what it means. I didn't want to say it.
Oh, I got super into the Counter-Strike space. So
Counter-Strike, okay, that's it. Yeah. There it is. With the NBA, it's even more particular. Like, I'm kind of looking at these fourth quarter NBA. Like, you can kind of reminds me of the flash drafts that I've grown a little bit fond of in football. So I'm excited that this site as it grows, and hopefully we can kind of grow together. Check out what they can do, and maybe we'll get period props, and that could be a lot of fun. So I don't know. Let's just see what it comes to. So anything else before we get out of here?
No. So be sure to follow me. I am at Fake Moods right there. DJ is at DJ_Mitchell94. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube or on your podcast app of choice, the Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets show presented by Prize Picks. So that is all from us today. Good luck on Tuesday, and we'll talk to you Thursday.